Welcome, dear listener, to another deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a truly special journey, really getting into a piece of communication that speaks right to the heart of community, shared purpose, and, that whole spirit of collective effort. Our focus is the latest letter from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States, specifically the one addressed to the community for the Feast of Rahmat 2025, dated June 23, 2025.
Yeah, a really significant communication.
Absolutely.
Right.
Our mission today is to really immerse ourselves in this vital message. We'll read it carefully, piece by piece, and then launch into a really comprehensive deep dive.
Right.
We want to explore its nuanced meaning, its purpose right now in this present moment, and how it resonates with, what's going on globally. What does this letter profoundly mean for you, for me, for every Baha'i trying to live their faith today? We'll also try to link it to previous guidance and the ongoing goals of the faith.
So to see the bigger picture?
Exactly, helping us see its place within that larger tapestry of the Baha'i administrative order.
What's truly fascinating about these letters, as anyone familiar with how the Baha'i administration works knows, is their dual nature. They aren't just directives. They serve as this direct, living channel of communication, offering both spiritual sustenance and really practical guidance.
Like a roadmap.
Exactly. It's akin to receiving an updated roadmap directly from the institutions that serve and guide the community. It provides clarity, inspiration for the path ahead. And this particular letter, as we'll see, gets into areas that are absolutely foundational to the growth, the resilience, and the long-term sustainability of the faith, especially, in today's complex world.
Okay, let's peel back the layers then. It's a rich document, and we want to make sure you don't just get the surface details, but really grasp the spirit behind it, the strategic thinking.
Well, why?
Right, the why and the profound implications.
Yeah.
This deep dive is, it's tailored to help you understand those intricate connections, that powerful message woven within, making you not just informed, but hopefully deeply insightful. It's a journey of discovery, so join us. We're going to approach this thoughtfully. Instead of reading it all at once, we'll take it in logical sections.
Good idea.
Let the words sink in and then immediately dive into their deeper meanings. This way, we can ground our analysis in the exact language the National Spiritual Assembly used.
Crucial.
Let's begin with the opening lines. Dated June 23, 2025, addressed to the American Bahá'í community for the Feast of Rahmat. And for those perhaps new to the term, the Feast of Rahmat, meaning mercy, is one of the 19-day Bahá'í feasts. These are communal gatherings where Bahá'ís pray, consult, share fellowship.
And often where important letters like this are shared and discussed.
Precisely. Okay, the letter opens with two very telling quotes. First, from The Guardian, reads clearly, "Dearly loved friends, in a letter addressed to the Baha'is throughout America, the beloved Guardian advised that the elected Baha'i institutions should, within the limits of wise discretion, take the friends into their confidence, acquaint them with their plans, share with them their problems and anxieties, and seek their advice and counsel." And then, right after that, guidance from the Universal House of Justice reads clearly, and in a message addressed to various national spiritual assemblies, the Universal House of Justice writes the following. The National Assembly should neither feel embarrassed nor ashamed in turning to the friends, continuously appealing to them to exemplify their faith and devotion to the cause by sacrificing for it, and pointing out to them that they will grow spiritually through their acts of self-abnegation, that the fear of poverty should not deter them from sacrificing for the fund, and that the assistance and bounty of the source of all good and of all wealth are unfailing and assured. Okay, with those foundational statements setting the stage, let's dive into the practical implications, starting right there with those opening quotes. Expert, the National Spiritual Assembly, or NSA as we often call it,
starts by directly quoting the beloved Guardian and the Universal House of Justice. Now, for listeners maybe less familiar, the beloved Guardian is Shoghi Effendi.
the faith's head from 1921 to 57.
Right. And the Universal House of Justice is the supreme governing body today. So why open with these specific words? What does invoking these high authorities right at the start tell us about the letter's purpose, its spirit?
That's such a crucial question. It really speaks volumes about the whole Baha'i administrative approach. The Guardian's advice, emphasizing taking the friends into their confidence, sharing problems, seeking counsel. That's a bedrock principle. By leading with this, the NSA isn't just making an announcement. They're explicitly saying this letter is an act of trust. It's open communication.
Okay.
It immediately frames everything that follows not as some top-down mandate, but as an invitation for the community to actively participate in the challenges, the plans of their own elected institutions.
I see. So it's collaborative, deeply collaborative. It's a profound illustration of that unique relationship in the Baha'i faith between the institutions and the community they serve. It's a call to shared understanding, a collective journey, which is foundational to how the administrative order operates. In a world where you often see secrecy or like really opaque processes.
Definitely.
This transparency really stands out. It sets an expectation of mutual respect, shared responsibility right from the get-go.
It's like they're saying, look, we're not just telling you what to do or even just what needs doing. We're sharing our journey with you and the why behind it all.
Exactly. And then that second quote from the Universal House of Justice.
Yeah, the one addressing finances and sacrifice directly, even saying the NSA shouldn't feel embarrassed nor ashamed about turning to the friends. That's powerful.
It really is.
It acknowledges that potential discomfort around talking money, especially in a spiritual setting. But then it immediately lifts the act of giving to this deeply spiritual level. What's that tell us about faith in action, especially regarding material support?
It absolutely does. And this is where that spiritual foundation of the Bahá'í Fund really comes through. The Universal House of Justice is providing this powerful reassurance, this encouragement. It makes it crystal clear that appeals for the fund aren't just, like, allowed. They're considered essential for everyone's spiritual progress.
Right.
It underscores that fundamental principle, the unique, organic link between institutions and individuals, especially around the fund. It highlights that the institutions aren't separate, self-sufficient things. They're deeply reliant on the faith and devotion, and yes, the self-abnegation of the friends.
Self-abnegation, meaning sacrifice, detachment.
Exactly. And the spiritual growth of the individual through those acts of sacrifice is explicitly, inextricably tied to the material progress of the cause. This isn't just some administrative point. It's a profound spiritual truth for the individual.
Okay.
So, contributing to the fund, it goes way beyond a simple material transaction. It's an expression of spiritual commitment, a practical show of detachment from worldly things, and really an act of worship. This opening serves as this powerful spiritual anchor for the whole letter, reminding everyone that the ultimate point of these financial efforts is advancing this divinely ordained plan for humanity. It's an invitation to participate in building a new world order, and that participation includes both spiritual and material aspects.
Forging a deeper connection between your inner life and the outward progress of the faith.
Precisely. It's a reminder that the Baha'i faith operates on principles that go beyond conventional finance, giving every contribution a sacred meaning.
So right from the start, the purpose is transparency and a spiritual call to participate.
Unity in action, community and institutions working hand in hand.
Okay. Now, with that context set, the letter pivots. It looks back at the recent past, thanking the community for their contributions in the last fiscal year, ending April 30, 2025. Let's look at the picture the NSA paints. Reads clearly. In light of this guidance, we would like to share some information about the status of the National Bahá'í Fund and its future prospects. The National Spiritual Assembly is grateful to the believers in this blessed country for having contributed $49.4 million in unrestricted contributions towards the goal of $50 million for the Bahá'í fiscal year that concluded on April 30th, 2025. An additional $5 million in restricted contributions was received for various projects, including, for example, the construction of the shrine of Abdu'l-Bahá. Considering the economic and financial uncertainties present during much of this year, this is truly a significant achievement. $49.4 million unrestricted against a $50 million goal. That's incredibly close.
It really is. It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
And then another $5 million restricted, specifically mentioning the shrine of Abdu'l-Bahá. What does that tell us?
Well, hitting $49.4 million. That's not just almost there. It's a massive testament to effort and dedication across the entire American Bahá'í community. And mentioning the Shrine of Abdu'l-Bahá is significant. That's a global project. Huge spiritual importance for the whole Bahá'í world.
Right. Contributions come from everywhere for that.
Exactly. So seeing the American community giving $5 million specifically for projects like that shows commitment beyond just national needs. It shows connection to the global efforts of the faith.
That's a truly massive sum overall, and the letter calls it a truly significant achievement, especially noting those economic and financial uncertainties.
Mm-hmm.
It puts it in perspective. It wasn't just reaching a number, it was doing it when things were, well, uncertain.
And that acknowledgement isn't just politeness. It's genuine recognition of the sacrifices made by individuals, families.
Who are likely facing their own economic pressures. We've seen inflation, global instability.
Absolutely. Yeah. The NSA is clearly aware of those headwinds: inflation, job market shifts, general volatility. Despite all that, the community nearly met this huge goal. That signifies a profound level of spiritual resilience. It's faith in action, prioritizing the faith's needs even when personal circumstances are tough. It shows their faith isn't just abstract. It manifests in tangible sacrifice, generosity, even when the economy is shaky.
So it builds trust, too, between the institutions and individuals.
Definitely. It showcases that collective action, that spirit of placing the needs of the cause, the divine plan, high on the list, even when it's hard.
So this part is really a moment of gratitude, setting a positive tone before looking ahead.
Yes, acknowledging the strength of that spirit of giving, even in turbulent times, and showing the institutions understand the reality people are living in.
Okay, so from reflecting on success, the letter pivots to the path ahead. The goals for the current Baha'i year. Let's get into these figures and the challenges. Reads clearly, we wish to commend to your attention a few thoughts about the fund goal for the current Baha'i year, which the National Assembly has set at $52 million in unrestricted contributions, a 4% increase over last year's goal. Reads clearly, historically, contributions to the Bahá'í Fund fluctuate. Lower levels are contributed in the early and middle portions of the year and increase as we approach Ridvan. We stand in need of a sustained flow of sufficient contributions, however, to meet our financial commitments each month. This gap compels the Assembly to borrow money frequently during the lean financial months, often several times a month, at high interest rates. Considering this pattern, the National Assembly has decided to create a special reserve fund to reduce and hopefully eliminate the need for borrowing funds to meet our international, continental, national, and regional obligations.
New goal, $52 million, unrestricted, a 4% increase over last year's goal.
On the surface, 4%. But the letter immediately gives crucial context. It addresses that historical fluctuation. Ridvan, the 12-day festival marking Baha'u'llah's declaration.
Right. Also near the end of the Baha'i financial year.
Exactly. So contributions are lower early on, then surge towards Ridvan. This creates a predictable but problematic financial ebb and flow.
It sounds like a cash flow nightmare for any organization.
It really can be. Imagine knowing most of your income arrives in the last month of the year.
And that fluctuation isn't just inconvenient. The letter says it compels the Assembly to borrow money frequently at high interest rates. That sounds like a real burden.
It absolutely is.
Funds meant for programs, teaching, administration, getting eaten up by interest payments.
Precisely. Those high interest rates likely mean, like many nonprofits needing short-term cash, they face less favorable terms in big corporations. Every dollar on interest is a dollar not going to the core mission. It diverts precious resources.
So this special reserve fund, that's the strategic response.
Yes, it's a highly strategic, financially prudent move, aiming to reduce and hopefully eliminate that borrowing cycle. It reflects foresight, responsible stewardship, moving from reactive borrowing to a sustainable model.
Letting them focus on the work, not just managing cash flow crises.
Exactly. Greater stability for all those obligations, international, continental, national, regional. It helps the faith function more effectively. It shows the administration maturing, learning, building resilience.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The letter also talks about planned giving bequests from believers after they pass. How does that fit into this new strategy? Reads clearly, we also wish to address the matter of planned giving. Every year, the National Fund is blessed to receive contributions from believers who have made provisions to ensure that the Bahá'í Fund is supported after their passing. However, the bequests are unpredictable, and as such, caution is needed when considering this income source during preparation of the annual budget. They fluctuate yearly, but have averaged some $2.53 million per year over the course of several years. The National Assembly has thus decided to direct these contributions to the Special Reserve Fund mentioned above rather than to the unrestricted fund goal of $52 million. In so doing, our hope is to grow this special fund within a few years to a sufficient level such that it can supplement the general fund during the lean months of the year. The goal of $52 million in unrestricted contributions therefore reflects, in essence, an increase of about 10% over last year's goal, since going forward the bequests will be directed to this special reserve fund. We hope that this explanation is helpful to both individuals and institutions in making decisions about giving to the National Fund and its regional branches.
Right. So bequests, averaging $2.5 to $3 million a year. A profound blessing, a real act of devotion. But, as the letter says, inherently unpredictable. You can't reliably budget based on when or how much will come in.
A common challenge for nonprofits.
Definitely. So the NSA's strategic decision is huge. Direct these contributions to the Special Reserve Fund, not the annual $52 million operating goal.
Okay. So that $52 million goal, it's not just a 4% jump from $50 million anymore.
Exactly.
Because those bequests, which might have informally helped meet the goal before, are now completely separate, earmarked for the reserve. The letter says this means the $52 million goal is now, in essence, an increase of about 10% over last year's actual operating need from living donors.
Precisely. That recalculation is absolutely crucial for the community to understand. The real increase in the target for current ongoing contributions is significantly higher than 4%.
It's a bigger step up.
It is. By separating that unpredictable bequest income and putting it into the reserve fund, they're building that stable financial buffer. It allows them to meet obligations without relying on those expensive loans. It's a decisive move towards greater financial independence, stability.
To reactive to proactive.
Exactly. A proactive, strategic approach for long-term sustainability. The hope is, in a few years, that Reserve Fund can consistently supplement the general fund in lean months. It ensures the vital work proceeds with fewer disruptions, allows better long-term planning, real wisdom and foresight.
And it gives people clearer guidance on how their contributions are being used, builds trust. Now, this letter isn't just about numbers. It explicitly ties contributions to the first phase of the 9-year plan and the progress of the divine plan. What's the core message from the Universal House of Justice about the challenges for both institutions and individuals here? Beloved friends, as we endeavor together to bring the first phase of the 9-year plan to a successful conclusion, we are reminded of these words of the House of Justice. The challenge facing the institutions of the faith is to manage the available funds with such skill, economy, and wisdom that the greatest benefit is derived from them. The challenge facing the rank and file of the believers is to sacrificially provide the means wherewith their institutions are to carry on the work.
It's such a beautifully balanced, powerful statement of that dual challenge. Institutions. Manage funds with skill, economy, and wisdom for the greatest benefit. That's a call for meticulous strategic stewardship. Believers. Sacrificially provide the means for the institutions to do the work. It's a profound articulation of mutual responsibility. Not just the institution's job to manage, not just the individual's job to give.
It's a partnership.
A shared covenant in advancing the cause. It's not just about raising money. It's about the wise stewardship of those sacred funds and the deeply spiritual act of giving. It shows this profound interconnectedness. The institution's effectiveness is linked to the believer's generosity, and the believer's spiritual progress is linked to their material support, practical and spiritual, woven together.
So what does this mean for the individual Baha'i, juggling personal finances and their spiritual path today? The letter earlier quoted the House of Justice saying individuals will grow spiritually through their acts of self-abnegation, and the fear of poverty should not deter them. That feels like such a direct, potent spiritual call to action. Giving isn't just a duty, it's a path to personal growth.
That's truly the heart of the Baha'i teaching on the fund. Contributing isn't like paying dues or taxes or even standard charity. It's an integral part of your spiritual journey, a means of detachment, profound growth.
Self-abnegation.
It isn't just sacrifice for its own sake. It's about reorienting priorities, demonstrating detachment from material things for a higher good.
Yeah.
The letter links this virtue directly to contributing, making it clear this is a path to spiritual liberation. And that assurance, the assistance and bounty of the source of all good and of all wealth, are unfailing and assured, that directly tackles the human fear of scarcity.
Especially now with economic uncertainty.
Exactly. It's a spiritual antidote to economic anxiety, reinforcing trust in divine providence. It's a promise. Act with generosity and faith, and you'll be supported, blessed, spiritually, profoundly.
So true wealth is spiritual conditioned service, not just stuff.
Absolutely. It encourages transcending materialism, embracing a higher perspective on resources. acting with greater faith. This deeply shapes what it means to be a Baha'i today, living not just for self, but in active, tangible service to this world-embracing vision, trusting in divine help.
And it shows how individual contributions directly fuel that 9-year plan, that global framework.
Yes, makes the connection clear.
The letter then closes with immense confidence in the American Bahá'í community. It references its impressive legacy of giving, even during periods of financial difficulty. Feels like saying, you've done this before, you can do it again. The American Bahá'í community has an impressive legacy of giving even during periods of financial difficulty and has marshaled its spirit of sacrifice at the hour of need to ensure that the progress of the divine plan is not hampered by a lack of adequate funds. We have every confidence that the cherished friends in this God-chosen community will arise to meet the material requirements of the faith as they have done so consistently in the past. You are ever present in our supplications to the ancient beauty. With love and admiration for your services, National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States, Winafnani, Treasurer.
Indeed. That conclusion is a powerful affirmation of identity, of history. The American Baha'i community does have that track record, marshaling its spirit of sacrifice at the hour of need. That legacy is powerful inspiration for today's challenges, for this call for increased giving. It's a gentle but firm reminder. This community has always risen to meet the material requirements of the faith, ensuring the progress of the divine plan isn't hampered.
The divine plan being that global blueprint.
Exactly. Revealed by Abdu'l-Bahá, guided by the House of Justice. This historical resilience highlights that enduring covenant of support. Collective action, individual sacrifice hallmarks of the community's journey. It's not just a financial appeal, it's reaffirming the community's spiritual character, its commitment to Baha'u'llah's vision.
And that final line, you are ever present in our supplications to the ancient beauty.
Ah, yes. So powerful. The ancient beauty, for listeners, is a deeply revered name for Baha'u'lláh. Ending with that. It grounds the whole thing spiritually, reminds believers their sacrifices serve a divine plan, and their efforts are held in the prayers of their institutions.
Wow.
It transforms the appeal into this spiritual exchange. Institutions aren't just asking for funds, they're offering prayers for the community's well-being. It imbues the whole message with love, unity, shared spiritual purpose, reminding everyone their efforts, big or small, are seen, valued, divinely confirmed. Success isn't just hitting targets, it's spiritual growth, community unity.
This deep dive really shows how detailed financial planning and profound spiritual principles are just woven together. We've seen the NSA's commitment to transparency, that strategic approach with the Reserve Fund for Stability, and that timeless call to sacrifice that promises not just progress for the faith, but real spiritual growth for the individual.
It's a beautiful example of how the Baha'i administrative order works, blending the practical with the transcendent, all aimed at building a better world.
It really is.
And this exploration, it raises an important question for you, the listener, to really think about. In a world grappling with so much economic uncertainty, division, searching for meaning, how does this Baha'i approach to community finance, rooted in trust, transparency, spiritual principle, offer a fundamentally different model?
A different model for collective action, for handling resources.
Right. Consider how that balance between institutional wisdom and individual sacrifice aims not just for material stability or efficiency, but maybe even more for the spiritual upliftment of everyone involved. Think about how it contrasts with other ways organizations are funded, maybe other charities you know. What unique strengths does it draw from its spiritual core, that emphasis on shared responsibility?
That's a great question to ponder. And that concludes our deep dive into the National Spiritual Assembly's letter for the Feast of Rahmat 2025. We sincerely hope this exploration has given you a much clearer understanding of its significance, its call to action, and its relevance to your own journey as a Baha'i today.
Thank you so much for joining us on this. We really appreciate your engagement, your curiosity as we, navigate these important topics together.
Absolutely. And if you found value in this deep dive, please do remember to subscribe, like, comment, maybe share it with others who might benefit from this kind of in-depth look.
Your support really helps us keep bringing you these analyses.
It does. Join us next time for more deep dives into the topics that matter most, helping you connect the dots in, a pretty complex world. Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep connecting the dots.